welcome back to Erica's Little Welsh Garden. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today we are starting the video inside the car, and that is because I have just loaded up the car with things to take down to the allotment. On my video on Friday, where I was talking about making the best of a bad situation with this weather we've been having, it's really strange. We have really beautiful, nice sun, and then a couple of minutes later, we get really bad torrential rain. So actually, it's probably been quite good for the land and for, like, you know, collecting water for this year in all the local reservoirs. But it does mean that, you know, within a second or two, you need to change your job because you can't be outside because it's absolutely torrential raining. So what I've decided to do today is something a little bit different, and I've made myself like a little jobs list, and I thought I would tell you the jobs list at the very beginning and then we can go and get on with things. Not sure how we are going to be doing the filming of it today, actually, because the weather is nice and we've got a really small allotment site. Really, there's 24 plots, and if other people are down there working on their plots, then I generally don't like to film because, you know, it's their personal time when they're down at the allotment, and I don't want to be kind of chatting to a camera because it disrupts their kind of gardening time, really. So we've also got rain now coming, but today what my plan is, down at the allotment first thing, I'm going to get my onions watered. They are bunching up and bulging up really nicely now in the polytunnel, so I'm going to get those watered, and then I have my strimmer with me, so I'm going to strim all the way around my plot and kind of just the surrounding plots, because the plots either side mine are some ladies that are a little bit older than me, and I can't use the strimmer because it's a little bit too big and heavy at the allotment. So I'm going to do a bit of strimming around my plot and make it all neat. I've got a load of cardboard with me as well, which is going to be going down the very end of my plot where it's all getting overgrown. And then after I've done that, I'm going to come home. I've got some things that need to be potted up, some plants and stuff, some pumpkins and squash, and I'm also going to sow a load more seeds. And I've also got a pear tree that needs to be planted. So let's see if I can get all of those things done. I was going to write this down because I thought if I work to a list, I can do it all over a couple of hours and then tick it off. But I haven't got a pen and paper, so we just have to go with it like this. So first things first, off to the plot. Oh my goodness, got in the car, it started raining. On the way down here, I had hailstones and torrential rain and a flash flood on one of the roads. This weather is actually quite scary, to be honest, that we're in May and we're just having such crazy extremes. But let's fingers crossed now that when I go out there to strim in a minute, the weather stays dry. The first thing on the list is probably the quickest, and that is to get these onions watered. My onions are doing so amazingly well in the polytunnel. Not one of them is showing signs of bolting, and I think that is because when I put the onion sets in back in autumn last year, they haven't actually had a frost at all. So fingers crossed, in a couple of weeks, if I keep watering them every day, when my tomatoes are ready to go in, I can harvest them on the same day as putting the tomatoes in and my beans, and we're going to have a really good harvest because they're already starting to bunch up quite nicely. I'm really pleased to say that the weather held out this morning and I was able to get on with all of my plans. I'm really pleased that I've got the cardboard down at the end of the plot now, because it's starting to just get taken over with grass. I've still got loads more cardboard that I can take down and then put some more of the chippings in between, so the grass kind of in the gaps doesn't come back through again. And I was very lucky that one of the other plot neighbours gave me some boiled beans to put in. So I've got one bed where my elephant garlic is, I've got nothing growing it in, so I quickly put them in there, and then hopefully that will be another little harvest that I wasn't planning on having this year. We're back at home now, and the next job on the list is to get this pear tree planted. Now, if you have a look at me behind, I've got a number of fruit trees here. I have 11 varieties altogether, because this pear here is actually 3 varieties grafted onto the one tree, or sorry, 2 varieties grafted onto one tree, which means there's 3 varieties altogether. And this one here keeps flying over in the wind. Now, the other ones that I kind of gave you I showed you last year have been here all kind of winter and early spring now and haven't gone in the ground, but they all do have a place where they are going. I just not put them in yet. Whereas this one here tips over in the wind, and I haven't actually planned where it's going to go. So today what I'm going to do is get it potted on into this really big pot here, so I can see how it grows over the next couple of seasons, and it's not going to get damaged every time it flies over in the wind. In autumn last year, I did a video on how to transplant an apple tree. I had an apple tree going in quite a small pot, and then I transplanted it into a slightly bigger one. So today I'm going to be using the same principles that I went through in that video, but rather than using a mix of topsoil, compost and worm castings today, I'm just going to be using a mixture, I think, of some compost and a bit of topsoil. The reason for that is I already have a pot just down here in front of you that is what I grew some beans in, I think it was last year, and because I don't have any compost at the moment, and I don't really have anywhere that I'm kind of working on in the garden to get some topsoil, I'm just going to be using that soil today, so this can get put in the ground straight away and isn't going to get damaged by kind of blowing too much in the wind. If you're wondering why I'm moving all of the compost from this bucket to this one just to plant this tree in here, the reason is that these 30-litre buckets that I've got here are really good for growing potatoes in and things like that. So I actually want to get it back from using it as the beans last year. As I mentioned earlier, I know exactly where all of my fruit trees are going, and they should have already been put in. But with this one here, I actually got this from Garden, I think it was, and it was £15.99, I think. And I've got an apple tree, which is a 4 variety apple tree. And I really want to keep them in pots for the first couple of years, so I can actually see how they do in terms of fruit, and how they do in terms of shape as well, because the other ones I got from Pomona Fruit are cordon apple trees, which means they just grow in a straight line. You know, they grow straight up or on a diagonal. Whereas with this one, it's actually already an established tree, and I don't want to go planting it somewhere where it doesn't do very well. So I want to see how it performs in this pot for a couple of years. So I think this is the perfect level at the bottom for this tree to go in now. And what I'm going to do is just put the level of the compost to around about here, which will bring it to about here, which is well under its graft. So that's absolutely perfect. And then when it gets potted on in the future or put into the ground, I can then make sure it's within this kind of level here. There we go, this should make it a little bit more sturdy and less likely to topple over now. I'm just going to give it a really quick water just in case there's any air gaps in there around the roots. I'm so pleased that I finally got round to potting on this poor little pear tree. It has been abused all winter. It's fallen on the floor so many times. Early spring, it's got really dried out and really started to suffer, but it's still so lush and green. So hopefully now it's been moved into a bigger pot, it can start to grow a little bit more and get a little bit more established. With the pear tree, it's not flowered this year, and I don't actually know what time of year a pear tree usually flowers, but with my apples it's May, so some of my apple trees have finished flowering now and some are still flowering, so it'd be really interesting to see how this one does. But it just goes to show it really only does take 2 minutes to do so many jobs in the garden. Off to the next one. Let's go to the greenhouse and get my plants potted on. Welcome to the greenhouse. Before I get on and show you the plants that I'm going to be potting on today, I'll quickly go back to the apple trees that I was talking about. In the distance, you should be able to see around about there, I have trellis surrounding the patio, and I am going to be replacing that trellis, and I will be putting my apple trees on there. With a cordon apple tree, they grow straight up, but you can grow them on a diagonal. So I need to take off the current trellis that I've got, replace the current trellis, and then put them in there. So I think it's a job for the autumn, but I do feel really bad because I got those apple trees for a Christmas present and they're still not in the ground. But if you want to see more details about the trees that I've got and how they grow and stuff, I did do a video, so I'll put that above and I'll link it down below in the description because it's actually quite interesting. Quite a chatty video if I remember, but I'll go through all of the different varieties and why I'm growing them. But now on to potting on. Now at work on Saturday we did a plant and share event, which was I think it was in connection with the Soil Association, but a few of us took in lots of vegetable plants and we gave them out to anybody that wanted them for free, and at the end of it there was some left over, and I managed to pick up and just dump in here on Saturday, sorry, a load of sunflowers and some other bits and pieces. And as you can see, these sunflowers are doing okay, but they need a slightly bigger pot before they then go out maybe in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to be potting all of these on today, and then I think my gardening chores and my jobs list will be finished. Well, I've got a bit of a problem here, haven't I? Because I've only got that much compost left. I do have another one of these composts right down near the back of the house, but it has been rained on so much that it's like 2 or 3 times heavier than it should be, and it's just too heavy to bring up here. So I'm going to use what I've got now, and then I'll ask Lloyd very nicely to bring the other one up for me. But I should be able to get a good few of these potted on now. The compost managed to hold out until I transplanted the last of the sunflowers, so I'm very pleased about that. But I've still got 3 courgettes that need to be potted on, and I haven't actually sown any seeds. I'd really planned to get some more of the pumpkins in because I've not had a very big germination this year again. I think it's like 2nd or 3rd year in a row where I've hardly had any pumpkins. But I have just checked the time and I need to head off in a minute to go and pick my son up from school. So thanks so much for being a part of my day. Thinking back to this morning when I started the video, I think apart from transplanting some of the plants and sowing some seeds, I've done everything on the list that I'd planned to. So I think you've helped me with that, so thank you very much. If you're enjoying this video, you know, it's a little bit different to the usual ones, let me know and I might do them again, because sometimes, you know, you really just need to get that list down and get on with those jobs, because a lot of things like that pear tree doesn't take 2 minutes at all, but you need to just think about it at the right time. So I definitely think if I do kind of 1 day a week where I plan exactly the jobs that I need to get done, then I actually might be able to achieve something, because with my garden sometimes there's just a lot of jobs that need to be done and I don't always know where to start. Anyway, I am going on now, so I'm going to leave the video here. Thank you so much for watching. If this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, please do hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you can be notified of all of my latest videos. As ever, YouTube have some videos up now on the screen that they think you'll like, so please go ahead and watch those, and I will catch up with you in the next episode. Bye!